Hi, Steve.
Hey, Mandy, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Hi, Amy. Amy, this is Ursula.
Amy's not here yet.
Hello,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Hi, this is Ursula.
Hi, Ursula. Steve, Jeffrey.
Amy should be here momentarily.
Hi, folks.
Hey, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Hello. Hey, Jeffrey, I haven't seen you in a while.
So Steve, you just let me know when you're ready for us to begin.
Everything is set on my end. You're live streaming.
Okay. So this is the first of 3 public informational meetings that are going to be held for the fiscal year 2022 CDBG application process. The next 2 will be November 16th at noon, also a virtual meeting, and December 1st at 6 p.m., which will still be a virtual meeting. The Community Development Block Grant, also known as the CDBG program, is an entitlement program that provides an annual grant on a formula basis to the City of Kingston. Launched in 1974, the CDBG program is one of the longest continuously run programs at the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD. HUD awards grants to entitlement community grantees to carry out a wide range of community development activities that are directed towards revitalizing neighborhoods and by providing improved community facilities and services for principally low and moderate income persons. Entitlement communities develop their own programs and funding priorities, and the City of Kingston has laid theirs out within the 5-year consolidated plan that goes from 2019 to 2023. The city's priorities include infrastructure improvements, neighborhood facility improvements, housing rehabilitation, code enforcement, public services, and parks infrastructure. The fiscal 2022 application was made available October 12th and will be due December 10th, no later than noon. The application must be completed in its entirety or it will be deemed unaccepted. This year, the city will once again allow for those interested parties to submit applications for public service programs only. These programs must meet HUD's eligibility criteria as well as fall within a HUD matrix code. These activities must primarily benefit persons of low and moderate income residents of the City of Kingston. Qualifying examples would be, but are not limited to, childcare, healthcare, job training, recreation, education, public safety, fair housing, and senior services. Public services do not include payments to individuals for food, clothing, rent, or other income payments. Eligible program costs for public services include payment for labor, supplies, and materials to administer the program, and the cost of the operating of that portion of the program. In addition to completing the application, there are 9 exhibits that are required to accompany the completed application. New this year is a question form related to previous CDBG funding and a question form regarding federal eligibility and consolidated plan priorities. The applicant will also need to submit a copy of the previous year's Form 990. If the applicant does not file a Form 990, they must provide a copy of a tax form that they do file. I would like Amy to speak to what she also requires when somebody is submitting for reimbursements, because this is a reimbursable program. So you must spend the money before you can get your money back. Amy? You got to unmute yourself.
So when someone submits for reimbursement, the first thing I do is I go back to the application and the agreement to make sure that your receipts, invoices, canceled checks, which is what we require, is commensurate with what for which you had applied. It's, the budget is flexible to a point. The categories are not flexible. We will work with you if you applied for X dollars and you get only a percentage of that. The agreement will be prorated, as will your budget, accordingly. And you can flex your budget. So for example, you've put in for $10,000 in salaries and other things. You don't have to stick with that $10,000. It's not a straight percentage. But when you submit your revised budget, we have to work within that. So I require copies of canceled checks, invoices, receipts, et cetera. And we do not reimburse for sales tax, so that will be deducted. And as I said, I make sure that it is, for the program. And as Mandy had said, if you did put in for labor or utilities, it is for that portion. So if you've got a building and you've got multiple programs in that building, it's based on a square footage or in a percentage of time for which your programs run. You have to have current insurance certificates, liability naming City of Kingston, Office of Community Development, additionally insured or certificate holder, workers' comp, and disability. And we will then also require a client data sheet, and that will be the demographics of those who participated. Overall, we have to have 70% or more of our programs to benefit low to moderate income individuals or families. Individually, one program could be 50% or more, as long as I said, overall. I think that's it. Kind of caught me by surprise. I would have had my list already.
I like to make sure that you're paying attention. So for anybody that has any questions as they're going along the process of completing their application, we don't want anybody to just hesitate contacting our office. We're here for technical support. That's what we do. I don't know if anybody has any questions that they would like to ask. Sure, Steve, you just have to unmute.
Yep. Well, for the benefit of those who may not be too familiar with the program, perhaps you or Amy could explain the timeline that we adhere to if someone is selected, to receive the grant, what we expect as far as getting started, before you can be reimbursed. Obviously, you have to do something. So maybe you can explain some of those guidelines.
Sure. So our program year is July 1st to June 30th of any given year. Monies cannot be expended prior to July 1st, and they cannot be expended prior to the City of Kingston getting into a contract with HUD themselves. So what happens is, after we go through this process of the application, we write the annual action plan. And the annual action plan is put out for public comment for an additional 30 days after a public hearing is held. And once this is submitted to HUD, they review it. And upon their approval, they will send a letter and a contract for the mayor to sign. And once both the mayor and HUD sign the contractual agreement, then the monies are released to us. At that point, we can begin reimbursing any of the subrecipients who have monies that they would like to have reimbursed. But like I said, it can't be done prior to July 1st, and it can't be done prior to us having our signed contract with HUD. So Amy prepares agreements each year for the subrecipients, and they will not be executed until we have our executed agreement with HUD. Amy, did you want to include anything else with that?
No, but as Mandy, am I not muted? No. As Mandy aforementioned, when I do get the signed agreement, I will also require insurances and a revised budget.
Also, I'm sorry. So we have what's called a timeliness with HUD, where we are expected to have a specific amount of monies drawn down and not have any more money than we're allowed to in the U.S. Treasury. And part of our timeliness is also the subrecipient's timeliness. So obviously, if we can't get the subrecipients to spend their funding in the allotted amount of time that they're supposed to, they're not meeting their timeliness, and that's not going to help us meet our timeliness. So it's extremely important that those who apply for the funding and are awarded the funding are able to spend the funding within the July 1st to June 30th timeframe. If there's any issues, we need for them to get in touch with us as soon as possible so that we can discuss, any way that we can help them out, whether we have to reallocate or if, we can help them figure out another way to spend their money within the eligibility of their program.
I have a question.
Sure.
So, two questions. So one, is the application available now for people to?
Yes, it became available October, I'm sorry, I think I mentioned it. It became October.
Is that Monday after, the Tuesday after Columbus Day, right?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sorry. I did say when they became available.
October 12th or
October
13th?
12th.
Okay, so we can just go to people can just go to the city website and get the application then, right?
And
Yes.
it's due December 10th.
Okay. The second question, go back to Mandy, what you were just talking about, the requirements. So if a program gets the funding, say they are awarded, I don't know, 20,000, right?
Sure.
And CDBG funds. So they would have to spend that entire 20,000 by a certain date, or is it, 5 by this date, 10 by that date, or?
So the entire amount is theoretically supposed to be spent from July 1st through June 30th. A lot of people do quarterly reporting. So, quarterly they'll submit for reimbursements because they have payroll or materials or, they have operational expenses to pay and they'll want to be reimbursed. We do have some people that wait until the end, but they have to be able to carry themselves until that point. Because if they spend them, you know what I mean? Like they have to have the money to spend. You're not supposed to go get a loan from a bank so that you can hold yourself over until we can reimburse you. Because when you fill out your application, you're supposed to prove to us that you have the funding available. So one of the proofs, if you will, is the submission of the tax form. That tax form is going to let us know that, you survived last year, or if you were, if it's showing that somebody's, not able to keep afloat and they're asking to, for 40,000, let's say 40,000, they get 40,000, but they don't have $40,000 to run their program until they ask us for reimbursement. That's really not going to work out. So that's why we ask you to demonstrate to us how you're going to be able to keep afloat, to be able to function until you can get your reimbursements.
One thing that makes Mandy and me very queasy is when people submit for reimbursement and they're like, hurry up because I need this for the next quarter to finish the program. You have to be solvent, reasonably so. I mean, I understand cash flow problems, but as Mandy said, if you apply for it and receive that funding, you really need to be able to carry that debt.
Oh,
Because as Mandy also aforementioned, we don't always get our money right away either.
right. And I'm sorry. So I have two other real quick things that I want to piggyback on that with. Actually, I forgot what they were.
The financial, the cash.
Can I jump in?
Sure.
Can I jump in with an easy question?
We
Sure.
love you.
I think I know the answer to this, but I just wanted to explore it a little bit. The funding that's available now is only for services, so a capital project would not be eligible, as I'm understanding what you're telling us. And if assuming that's correct, then my real question, I guess, is: are there at different times, or do you anticipate that CDBG funding might down the road be available for capital projects, or is it typically only for services that you reimburse?
The city has chosen to allow for public services programs to be applied for from outside organizations. There are many municipalities who do not offer subrecipients, or don't allow for people to apply as a subrecipient. They keep the money within the municipality for their own programs, their own infrastructure, their own facilities. But the city has opened it up for organizations to be able to apply for programming for their organization.
So from that, I guess I should assume that it's unlikely that any of this funding anytime soon would be available for anything other than programming, as far as like, capital projects or capital spending or things of that nature.
That would be up to the mayor and maybe the council to make a decision on that.
Okay, but it doesn't sound like that's there's no plan to do that at this point in time.
Certainly not for the 2022 funding. I can't speak for what will happen for 2023.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
I just encourage you to get your applications in a little early, just in case they are incomplete, so that I can, Mandy and I can go over them and make sure that everything is there. Because once that deadline hits at noon on Friday, December 10th, then if they're incomplete, we can't accept it. And also the applications have to come in complete, even if it's early. You can't send me and Mandy, exhibits 1, 3, and 7 on a Tuesday, and then 2, 4, and 8 on a Wednesday. All of the exhibits have to be submitted at once. So, and then we would review them for eligibility and for completeness.
Also, as far as public services programs go, the max that we can give from whatever the allocation is that we receive from HUD is 15%. So it's not, unfortunately, it's not a whole lot of money, as opposed to what can be spent on infrastructure or public facilities. So I just want everybody to keep that in mind as well. Does anybody else have any questions?
I don't.
If you're all okay with this, we'll just let this run into the 6:30 meeting. That way we don't have to. Okay, thanks.
What time is it now? What do we have, about 10 minutes?
8 minutes?
8 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, guys. Thank you.
Amy, this is Ursula. I could not get in over Zoom. Could I have the password again?
Yeah, Ursula, let me forward you. I will send you an email.
Okay, because I tried from the first email and I couldn't get in. That's why I'm on the phone. Thank you.
All right, I'll try it again. Hang on.
Amy, this is Cassandra. I couldn't get on the Zoom either. I was listening over the phone.
Really? Okay, hang
Mhm.
on, let me, hang on one sec.
Hi, this is Jeffrey. Cassandra and Ursula, if you copy the link and paste it into your browser as opposed to clicking on it, that's usually what works for me.
All right, hang on. Or you can try Jeffrey's method. Ursula and Cassandra, you need it, right?
Yes.
All right, try it now. I'm going to finish my apple, so I'm putting it on mute because it's too crunchy.
No, this it didn't work for me either. I mean, it still didn't work. I dialed the number.
What happens when you click on the link?
It just oh, hold on, it said something here. Hold on.
Or do what Jeffrey says, is copy it and then go into, Chrome and then paste it and go that way.
Because you just gave me like a number 1-646-558-8656. I supposed to dial that to go into, because when I hit
No, you're
Zoom,
supposed to click on the link. Did you click on the link?
you didn't send me a link. You only sent me this number, that number.
No, I forwarded you. But that whole email, this is join Zoom meeting. I sent it at 6:24. And it says Kingston City Clerk webpage, Alyssa Tinty.
Okay, it just now came through. The 6, okay.
The https://:/.
Mhm. Yeah.
So either click on that or do what Jeffrey suggested. And, let's click on your mouse and go across, go from right to
Okay.
left. To find the
It's
mouse.
waiting for the host to let me in, it says.
Oh, okay.
It's not taking the password from me.
But you shouldn't need a password. If you're clicking on that Zoom meeting, are you clicking on the
Right.
link, Ursula?
Yes, I am. And usually it comes, I get a little box saying, put in password, and then I'm in. And I'm not getting in with this password if I wrote it down correctly.
The GTWEL1N4.
Okay. I have 1N4.
Right. But with passwords, they're case sensitive.
I did it in case sensitive. I'll try it again.
I didn't have to put in a password and I don't have any special powers.
I'm needing passcode again, so let's try this. So it's small G, capital T, capital W,
Mhm.
small E,
Mhm.
capital L,
Right,
1,
right. Capital
N,
N, right?
capital N, maybe that's what I'm doing wrong. N 4.
4.
I'm in, thank you.
Hooray!
Amy, can you hear me?
Yes.
It's okay. It's just showing myself to back to me, so I don't see.
Oh, you don't see the rest of us?
Okay, now I see it. Now you must have hit
Yeah,
something.
I turned the video off,
Okay.
obviously.
And Sonny, make sure you have it on gallery view so you can see everybody.
Oh, wait, where's that? Okay. All right. I had to slide it over. All right. I got this.
Steve, want to call the meeting to order?
Sure.
We ready?
We're all set. Yeah. Elisa, we're set, right?
Yep, you're all set.
Okay. All right. Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of our monthly Community Development Block Grant or Community Development Committee. And we just finished our Community Development Block Grant informational session. So if you are joining us from that, welcome again. I'm calling the meeting to order now. It's 6:32 p.m. I'm Steve Shabbat. I'm chair of the committee. Let me see. I am joined tonight by Elisa Tinti, who is the host of the meeting, Amanda Bruck, Amy Peterson, Cassandra Dassey, Douglas Coop. I'm not sure. I can't remember what Miss Ingram's first name is. I'm sorry. Jeffrey Ventura Morel, Alderman, Alderman Patrick O'Reilly, Alderperson Rita Worthington, and Alderman Douglas Coop. So without further ado, I will turn this over to Amanda Bruck.
Okay, this meeting won't be very long, I don't think. I just wanted to quickly go over the schedule that we have sent out and to give just a little bit of an update as far as where we are with HUD. So since the beginning of the year, Amy and I have been working diligently to get us into compliance. Since I stepped into the position at the beginning of the year, I've been able to get 2 annual action plans, a substantial amendment, and a consolidated annual action plan report completed and submitted to HUD. Amy has been working with subrecipients to get as much spending down so that we can get them reimbursed and get the money out of our what's the word I'm looking for? Amy, help me out here. Out of our line of credit, sorry, that just kind of slipped my mind. We have weekly meetings with HUD, and they have told us that they are quite impressed with what we've been able to accomplish. And we have gone from the bottom fourth to the top fourth since January. We're not at the top of the top fourth, but we're up there, and they're quite impressed with what we've been able to do. So I thank all of you for your help, and I thank all of the subrecipients for working with Amy so that she can move things forward so that we can continue to be funded by HUD, because this helps with our timeliness to be able to spend the funding. And we're trying very hard to not be in that position again. And it's something that could happen only because we had to do 2 annual action plans at the same time, which meant that there was more money coming in. So we just have to work that much harder to get the money expended so we can get it reimbursed and get it out of the US Treasury. The other thing that I wanted to discuss was the new format, which everybody, I believe, Amy sent out the committee schedule. Yes, Amy? Okay. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to look at that. If anybody has any questions. We would like to have, so one of the things when I was putting this together, I had checked to see when there were or were not meetings for the council. When this went out, there wasn't a meeting, and my understanding is now there will be a meeting, which is December 1st. So we will need to find another night to have this meeting. I don't know if anybody has any suggestions. During that meeting, I was going to invite the newly elected Common Council members, whoever they may be, so that they can learn a little bit about the CDBG program too, whether or not they are on the committee. They will still need to have, you know, an understanding of how the program works. Anytime, you know, there's infrastructure programs or activities going on with the city, and if it includes CDBG funding, they will need to understand how that is so tough to say tonight. CDBG funding, they'll need to understand how that works for when it comes time for reimbursements, you know, going before the council. I'm also going to ask our HUD rep to appear at that meeting as well, to give another rundown of how the program is supposed to work so that people understand that, and then to explain how it's, you know, supposed to be used for seed money, and people are supposed to have expanded programs. And if anybody has any questions, that's the time to ask our HUD rep. He's very knowledgeable, he's very helpful, and he's very willing. So does anybody have any questions? Yes, Steve.
I don't have any questions. I just have a couple comments that I would like to make quickly. I too am very impressed. I hadn't heard that statistics about moving up from the bottom fourth to the top fourth. That's very impressive. You know, I know since I have been on this committee, We were kind of in an awkward position, you know, not through anything we've done, I should say. But I think we've been doing a good job of, you know, straightening the, you know, righting the ship, shall we say, getting back on course. It's nice to see that HUD has acknowledged, you know, that hard work on your behalf and Amy's. Unfortunately, the bad news is here, we're cruising into elections, and, you know, come January 1st, a lot of folks that we know and love on this committee will no longer be on this committee. And I feel real bad about that because we've worked really well together. You know, not to say that we can't with new folks, but, you know, I'm sure we're going to have some new people on board that have absolutely no idea what's going on here. So hopefully some of them can make that meeting, as Mandy said, that, you know, that would be a nice kind of breaking in for them, you know, with no pressure. They can sit back and observe. And I know, you know, before I was on this committee, I did it several times just to kind of get an idea. And it's, you know, it's eye-opening, you know, what this entails. So, you know, hopefully we'll get some people showing up. You know, we'll find out who's going to be on the committee. Nothing saying I'm going to be on the committee any longer, but you know, we'll see how it goes, and, you know, I'm confident we'll move forward. I think we set the bar in a good spot for this, and you know, hopefully we'll continue along. I mean, it's a lot of work. You know, if anybody's listening who hasn't been involved in this, it is a terrible amount of work, you know, but we get it done. And, you know, this has been such a great committee that, you know, we've done it without, you know, under tough circumstances, especially the COVID things. You know, it's been a lot of work, but, you know, we've all really pulled together. You know, there's been no digging in of anybody's heels to demand things. Everybody's been very cooperative. You know, it's been a good give and take with us. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you're not going to be here any longer, I'm going to miss you, because, you know, we have worked really well together. And I shouldn't say I'm going to miss you, because, like I said, I might not be here. So anyway, the committee will miss you if some of us are not here. You know, hopefully we will, you know, the committee will carry on. I think Mandy will move everybody forward, and Amy, and, you know, get everybody acclimated. And, you know, I have no doubt, you know, we're in a good place now. So I think we'll move along fairly well, no matter who is representing us here. So kudos to you guys. You know, that speaks very well of you and Amy, you know, to put this thing in the right direction. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, and you're welcome.
Oh, Rita, you're muted.
Yep. You think we know this thing by now. So I just have a question of like how this whole process goes again. And I apologize because I've been on this committee for like the past 4 years. And it always seems like I'm still wondering how this process goes. But anyway, so the allocations, when we, is it this year going to be where the mayor is going to set forth his allocations, or where he thinks it should go, and then it's going to come to us as a committee? Or is it going to be the other way around? Because for some reason, I feel like it's been the other way around in the previous years.
It has been, and the process has, so I spoke with the mayor, and what's going to happen this year is when the applications come in, Amy and I'll review them, you know, to make sure that they are even eligible, you know, in the first place, to make sure that they have everything that they're supposed to have. All of the applications will go to the mayor. The mayor will review all of the applications, and then he will forward the applications and his recommendations to all of you in an effort to make life easier, so that you already know what his thoughts are. And then the committee will start to, you know, review and deliberate.
Okay.
So in that timeline schedule that we sent to you, we did lay that out, that the meetings will happen. There'll be informational meetings. Like I said, the December 1st meeting, now we have to change. So we'll have to see what works best for everybody.
Mhm.
But we're still going to hold our public information meeting on the 1st at 6:00. It's just that you, or at least I can't say you because I don't know who, but I know for sure that Steve had told me that he's unable to make the 6:30 meeting. So we'll have to change it to another day. And when I find out from all of you what day works best, that's when I will ask our HUD rep. Because I would really like for him to come again like he did last year to explain everything to everyone about, what the process is on their end, what the purposes of the CDBG program is. And I think it's a great opportunity for those who are just coming on to the council to get an idea of what this is about.
Right. Okay, yeah, I thought that I had seen the schedule that came out, but the only reason why I ask is because I just remember it being different before, and I thought this was a change. So I just wanted to. Okay.
Yes. Any other questions?
Yeah, hi, Mandy. Patrick O'Reilly. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Wow, so good to hear about successful stories that you told us tonight. That's wonderful. I'm really happy to hear that. Can you tell us like some examples of what you had to do to go from, a lower 25 percentile to the upper 75 percentile of HUD recipients? And how does that work? Do they grade you on a percentile rating, kind of?
Well, what happens is when you have reporting that's due, there are deadlines. And when you miss your deadlines, you kind of fall in the rankings. So unfortunately, in 2020, the annual action plan was not filed. And I wrote the 2020 action plan along with the 2021 action plan when it was submitted in 2021 of this year. And the CAPER is something that's due in September of every year. So that had to be written for the previous year's annual action plan. And then when we had the substantial amendment, that was a huge process because we were reallocating at the end of the day somewhere near $700,000. So that's a huge process as well, because you have to write a new plan. You have to go through the public hearing. You have to go through the 30-day public comment period. And then you have to wait because HUD has their own time frame. Once you submit, they have depending on what the circumstances is, they have between 45 and 90 days for review and approval. And you can't spend anything. You can't spend 1 cent until HUD says, okay, you're good. We reviewed, we approve, here's your contract. When you don't, so what happens is when you don't submit your plans when you're supposed to, they can actually cut your funding off.
Well, wow, that's a lot. So thank you so much for doing all that, getting it back on track. We appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy, for her help.
And you too, Amy.
No, it was Mandy.
Anything else? So do any of you have any suggestions for another date that would be best for you? The reason it was canceled in November was because it's around Thanksgiving, and it was thought that maybe nobody would want to have the meeting then. So, if anybody has any other thoughts.
Don't we have a meeting scheduled for November 23rd? Is that the one we're saying we're not going to have?
I was going to have that. The mayor had suggested that I move it because he didn't think that very many people would attend it because it's 2 days before Thanksgiving and people might be traveling or having family come in or whatever.
It's okay with me.
So when I had picked the first, I had checked and there weren't any meetings at that time. But that's before, I presume it's probably a budget meeting, but that's before I had put this out before I had found out that you guys weren't able to participate in this meeting. So if you want to move it to, it doesn't have to be on a Wednesday. If you want to move it to another day.
Yeah, the 23rd is not going to be good for me.
Okay.
Can we do it the week after?
On the 8th, I'm fine with that. That's totally up to you guys.
Hey, Amanda, do you have, I hate to, lay this on you. Do you have our schedule for our budget meetings? I mean, there's a lot of them. I don't want you to start,
I have the one
trying
I'm
to
on.
figure out. You what? Well, you are, you're,
I'm on.
yeah, you're on one of them anyway. Do you have the full schedule?
I don't.
Maybe.
Don't you
how
vote
about if
on
I-
December
I'll-
4th?
I can send you a copy of the schedule if you want.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's crazy for you to start scheduling and for me to call up again and say, yeah, we got a meeting that night, so we can't do it. But, as I said, there's a slew of them.
Okay.
So, I'll do that first thing tomorrow. I'll send that to you, or maybe when I get off of here, and you can kind of check. I hate to put all that responsibility of checking schedules and everything, but it'd probably save a lot of time anyway, doing it that way.
Now, are all of you on the same meetings?
Well, a lot of people go. It's usually the finance committee has to be at all of them.
Okay.
But we get a lot of folks on the council like to go and listen in and, make suggestions and whatever. So, I would expect the majority of council would be at these meetings.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not on finance, but I try to go to as many of them as possible. I believe the December 1st is the wrap-up meeting. So if we do it after December 1st, I think that would be okay. That's the last meeting. That's the last budget meeting on December 1st.
December
I
8th.
don't have the December city schedule yet. So I don't know. I believe the council meeting would be for December would be on the 7th. So I don't know if we have anything on the 8th. December 2nd, I'm looking at my calendar. Seems like it would work too.
On a Thursday?
Thursday.
I think December 8th looks good. I don't show anything there. Jeffrey's right. December 2nd is also open, but that's a Thursday night. We rarely, for one reason or another, have meetings on Thursday nights. We try and have them Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, right?
Just so you know, the second Wednesday would be finance, which is the 8th of December. So that's one of the months where we'd have caucus, council, and finance 3 nights in a row.
Oh, finance is on the 8th?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, scratch that one then.
Ursula, did you want to say something? You're muted though.
I don't think we have to arrive at a decision right now. Why don't I send you the calendar?
Okay.
And, those are a couple dates that it sounds like everybody is kind of in agreement here. So, at least we
Okay.
have something to work with.
Because then on the 28th, we have our regular meeting again.
That's why I was wondering about, if you look at November 30th, that's 1 week after we normally meet. And if it's not a night when you have a lot of budget meetings, that might work. And it would still be in the month of November.
Yeah, I don't have a copy of their schedule, but I'll get it
I know.
tomorrow. And then I'll try to work through it and send out an email to everybody to, to fill it out to see what works for everyone.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? No?
Okay, if there's nothing else, I will be happy to take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Whoa, we got a motion. We have a second? I'll second it. All right. Anyone opposed to adjourning? All right, good deal. All right, very good. Thanks, Mandy.
Thank you.
That's such good news. I mean, that's really, really nice to hear. Things, I'll feel a little more upbeat going into these things, with news like that. So good. So I'll get that info to you and we'll come up with a couple choices.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thank you so much for everybody joining us tonight.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you.